They say the truth will set you free. But in my case, the truth didn't just set me free. It burned my entire world to the ground. It all started with a simple, stupid Christmas gift. A DNA test kit. I thought it would be a fun way to celebrate 30 years of my parents' perfect marriage. I had no idea that by New Year's Eve, I wouldn't even know who my own father was. My dad, well, the man I called Dad, is a legend. He's the kind of guy who never missed a football game, taught me how to drive his old Ford, and worked 2 jobs just to send me to college. My mom, she's the heart of the family. Together, they were the gold standard of couples. Every anniversary, they'd tell the same story about how they met in a library and knew instantly they were soulmates. I grew up believing in that story. I built my own life on the foundation of their honesty. Last December, I saw a sale on Ancestry DNA kits. I bought 4. 1 for me, 1 for my sister, and 2 for my parents. On Christmas morning, we laughed as we spat into the little plastic tubes. My mom hesitated for a second. I remember that now. But then she laughed too, saying she was curious if her great-grandmother really was from Italy. We mailed the kits and went back to our lives. We forgot all about them. 2 weeks ago, I got the email. Your results are ready. I opened the app while sitting in my office, expecting to see a map of Europe. But when I clicked on DNA matches, my heart stopped. It didn't list my father at the top. It listed a man named Robert Miller as my closest relative, a first cousin. I searched for my father's name in the database. Nothing. I refreshed the page. I looked at my sister's results, which she had shared with me. She matched our father 50%. I matched him 0%. I drove to my parents' house that night. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the steering wheel. When I walked in, they were having tea. My dad looked up and smiled. "Hey son, what brings you by?" I couldn't speak. I just laid my phone on the table. My mother's eyes dropped to the screen, and in that split second, I saw her face transform. She didn't look confused. She looked terrified. And that's when I knew. The last 30 years had been a lie. Story number 2, the $10,000 betrayal. They say loyalty is a 2-way street, but in the corporate world, it's usually a 1-way dead end. I worked for my boss, Gary, for 8 years. I was the first one in and the last one out. I helped him build his firm from a 3-man basement operation to a multi-million-dollar company. I thought we were friends. I was wrong. 2 months ago, Gary called me into his office. He looked sad, even squeezed out a fake tear. He told me the company was restructuring and my position was being eliminated. I was devastated. I have a mortgage and a family. But then, a week later, I found out the truth from a friend in accounting. Gary didn't fire me to save the company. He fired me because my salary was the only thing standing between him and a $10,000 quarterly bonus. He traded my 8 years of loyalty for a $10,000 check. What Gary forgot was that I was the only one who had the admin passwords to our main legacy server, and I mean the only one. When I left, I didn't delete anything. That would be illegal. I just didn't leave the instructions on how to bypass the new security update I had installed 2 days before I was let go. Monday morning, Gary called me 20 times. I let it go to voicemail. He was screaming. The whole system was locked down. Every minute they were offline was costing the company thousands in lost billables. By Tuesday, he was begging. He even offered me my job back with a 5% raise. I laughed. I told him my new hourly consulting rate was $5,000 an hour, with a 10-hour minimum, paid up front. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Then I heard the ding of a bank notification. He paid. Gary got his $10,000 bonus, but it just cost him $50,000 to have me talk to him for 10 minutes. The best part? I'm now working for his biggest competitor. Story number 3. The bride who thought her guests were bank accounts. I've been best friends with Sarah since high school. Or at least, I thought I was. Last month, Sarah got married, and what was supposed to be a celebration of love turned into the most entitled display of greed I have ever witnessed. It started with the invitation. There was a note at the bottom that said, "In lieu of gifts, a mandatory attendance fee of $200 per person is required to cover the cost of the venue." I was shocked, but Sarah told me that since it was a luxury wedding, the guests should help invest in the experience. Against my better judgment, I paid. But it didn't stop there. 2 days before the wedding, Sarah sent out a mass text. She demanded that all bridesmaids pay an additional $300 for a professional photography package because she wanted us to look perfect in her album. When one of our friends said she couldn't afford it, Sarah kicked her out of the wedding and blocked her. The wedding day was a disaster. The food was cold. The open bar charged $15 for a water, and Sarah spent the whole night complaining that people weren't dancing enough. I left early, feeling like I'd just been robbed. But the real kicker happened yesterday. I received an invoice in my email for another $150. The reason? Sarah claimed that because I left 2 hours before the reception ended, I didn't fulfill my guest obligation, and therefore had to pay a penalty for the unused seat and food. I didn't reply. I just sent her a screenshot of the block button and forwarded the invoice to her new husband's mother. Apparently, he had no idea she was charging the guests. Last I heard, the groom's family is furious, and the happy couple is already headed for a divorce before the honeymoon even started. Some people really do trade their soul for a fancy party. Which of these people was the most entitled? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more crazy stories.